Sometimes the evening time is one of the most pleasant times to come out and observe my garden. The TowerGarden is the first one that I've ever had that is vertical, and I've been using it this summer. It appears to be quite suited for things such as bush summer squash. The yellow straight neck squash is one of my favorites, and nothing quite beats the flavor of fresh grown tomatoes. The celebrity tomato is one of my favorites for small stature with nice slicing tomatoes. And it offers a time to start out looking for new varieties of vegetables such as the Ithaca cucumber. One of the special things about this cucumber variety is that it produces a white cucumber that is parthenocarpic and does not depend on pollinators. Not all of the vegetables that I'm growing on the tower are doing as well as the ones I've just shown you. Plants like this bell pepper plant were doing quite well when I bought them from the nursery, and they were growing in soil. I rinsed off the roots like I normally do for hydroponic plants when I transfer, and I transferred these over into net cups with a clone collar, which is the green foam piece that you see here. What I found was when the roots were packed inside of the net cups that they were restricting the ability of the roots to dangle down into the nutrient water that gets pumped to the top of the tower and come down over the roots. Looking at the roots, you can see that all of the vibrant colored white roots from when it was growing in soil are now decaying and browning. There are a few roots that are starting to come out. Hopefully those will be the ones that I can save. I will probably need to come in and prune off some of the dead growth. Let's go ahead and put that one back in. Since that time, I thought that it was a possibility I could come up with a slightly different method for planting in the tower garden. One of the things about the tower garden is that the net cups do squeeze in very snugly. I may not be able to get this one out, but what I did was started these plants in an AeroGarden grow sponge, which is the dark sponge that you see here. I drilled a hole a little bit larger through the neoprene cloning collar, squeezed it around that grow sponge, and then clipped a hole in the bottom of the net cup to allow the roots to dangle down. The plants seem to be responding a lot better than the ones that I showed you, such as the pepper. This once beautiful petunia plant, the leaves are all browned as well as the vines, and this was one that I put in just by rinsing off the soil around the roots of the plant and allowing those to dangle, but they are not as healthy as I had hoped. The interesting thing is that these roots were longer and they dangled inside the tower where they had access to more of the nutrient water that trickles down. And this is a third method that I'd used. And this is a close-up of what I was describing of the AeroGarden sponge. And after placing that into the open bottom net cup with the neoprene clone collar squeezed around that sponge, there are several white hydroponic roots. Now, this particular plant, I believe, was damaged during winds, and the growing stem was crimped over. So it is not doing as well as some of the others that I put in using this same method. In an attempt to save the plant, I did take it out of the sponge material there, inserted it a little bit lower around the thicker part of the main stem, and I'm now going to return it to the site in the grow tower from which it came. This is a standard 2-inch net cup. It's not the typical TowerGarden net cup that is used, so I just stick that underneath the upper edge and pop that down, it does fit, and the lip of it rests on the edge of the plastic of the tower. So let's give it a little while and we'll find out whether or not that plant recovers. One other tip that I have uncovered during the first year of using the TowerGarden is that always check your plant sites. For example, with this particular sponge and nut cup, it was dropped in a little low and water actually runs up behind it and down in pools in that area. If that were to become a little bit heavier flow, I could lose water out of my reservoir as it runs down the outside. So it is imperative to continue to check your garden and to try to maintain the optimal conditions for all plants.